to the story. It's story time with Skye. You can fall in love and laugh until you cry. It's story time with Skye. It's story time with Skye.
Welcome to Storytime with Skye. I'm your host, New York Times bestselling author Skye Warren. Every week, I tell a brand new story based on the heroes, heroines, and meet-cutes that you want to hear about. I bring on some of my favorite romance authors as guests to help me craft a hilarious, steamy, and ultimately romantic story with a guaranteed happily ever after. So pour a glass of something fun. Welcome to the story. Hello, everyone. I'm Skye Warren, the host of Storytime with Skye, and I'm here with my good friend of dark romance, Aleatha Romig. Hi, Aleatha.
Hi, Skye. Hi, everybody.
How are you doing today?
Doing great.
All right. So, in case you don't know, Aleatha Romig is a New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and USA Today bestselling author who lives in Indiana. Before she became a full-time author, she worked days as a dental hygienist and spent her nights writing. Now, when she's not imagining mind-blowing twists and turns, she likes to spend her time with her friends and family, including her beloved grandchildren. How many grandchildren do you have?
We have two,
Oh my God.
4 years old and 2 years old, and they are perfect in every way.
You get to spoil them so much.
We do, but they moved away. They live in Florida.
Oh, that was why the Florida. Yeah.
Yeah.
Florida's a beautiful place to grow up, though, for them.
Th-
So,
They're close to Disney and they go all the time and they love it.
oh, yes. Love that for
Mm.
them. Okay, so what we're going to do today is tell a story. We are going to tell a story that's probably a little bit dark and twisty because that's what we both like. And actually, Alita just mentioned before we hit record that we once already co-wrote together. It was part of a anthology. It was like a shortish piece. What was the anthology called?
It was for Queens of Darkness and Sin.
Yeah, the Queens of Darkness and Sin was the group, and Tales of Darkness and Sin was the anthology.
Tales of Darkness and Sin, yeah.
Not for sale anymore, but we did that.
Hmm.
We will basically do it again. So let's see what we can come up with here. So we have three elements, and I'm going to give you each one, and you can kind of give me a little, first reaction on that. So the hero is going to be an anti-hero.
I love anti-heroes.
Yeah. I feel like that's a given for us. I feel like you could tell us something else and we would just probably turn him into an anti.
I think you're right.
So that works out for us. So actually it's almost like the question is, do you feel like you've ever not written an anti-hero?
I have because I have a sideline of lighter ones,
Yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
excuse me, they're my reprieve from dark and twisty to just write something very light and low angst, kind of fluffy, a beach read that you can read in one day and forget if you want. It's kind of a nice palate cleanser for me.
But if it's not in that, is that under a different name or that's the same name?
No, they're under my name, but they're called Aletha's lighter ones.
I see. So if
Mhm.
anything is not an Aletha's lighter one, then it's got an anti-hero probably.
Yes,
I feel like sometimes the line gets a little blurry though, right? Because
it does. I think some people don't understand what an anti-hero is.
yeah, so
I,
maybe that's something we'll kind of like explore as we develop his character. But okay,
okay,
so the heroine is a florist. Have you ever written a florist before?
I have not.
I don't
Have
think
you?
I have either. Because I definitely would have had to then like research what all the flowers mean.
Right.
I think it's interesting though, because I tend to think of florists as like they don't grow flowers, you know what I mean? They're always working with cut flowers.
True.
And so it's more about design than I think it necessarily is a love of flowers, but I don't know.
See, now if I was putting a lot of work into this, we might look into some poisonous flowers and some poisonous plants.
Oh my gosh. See, already I love how your mind works. You know what I'm saying? I was making her very sort of like little innocent Sally type of vibe. And you're over here with the poison. We can still incorporate a poisonous flower. We can what it's called.
Well, okay, maybe somebody like sends them to her shop to hurt her, and then this anti-hero has to come in and save the day.
Yeah. Or well, it also could be a kind of poison where, like, you know how poinsettias are poisonous to pets? Like it could be something where if you don't handle it right, it's poisonous. And so she knows how to handle it, but something goes wrong.
Yeah, with so many possibilities.
Yeah. Okay. The last element is a meet cute or some sort of primary story element. And in this case, it's arranged marriage.
Oh, okay. That's my thing right now.
That is your thing right now. Yeah, you were telling
Mhm.
me a new series coming out. So that would be perfect, but you can feel free to change this one and make it not like that one in any
Oh,
way or
well,
like
actually,
whatever.
I'm doing all arranged marriages, so I'm working real hard to make them all different.
Oh,
So,
okay.
like, each book is an arranged marriage.
I see, I see, I see. I like
Mhm.
that. So what is the series name? Is it like just like arranged?
No, it's Brutal Vows.
I
I
thought that
always
was
have
the book name.
No, the book name is Now and Forever, and
Oh,
then book 2 is Till Death Do Us Part, and
oh,
that one's written, and book 3 is Bound by a Promise, and if this goes well, I might just keep going. I have no idea how long I'll keep the world going.
I love it. I think readers will love it. I would love it. It's
And
just like
it's Mafia Cartel.
perfect. It's
Mhm.
perfect. So, okay, we're gonna stretch you to be like another one, or it could be like a seed of an idea, and you'll love it so much it'll end up being like book 7 or something.
Okay. I'll give you a shout out in the, acknowledgments.
Okay, all right. What do we want to do? Where do we want to start with this? Where do you start when you're writing these arranged marriages? Do you sort of start with the setup, or
I
do you?
u usually start with the woman. Well, actually, both times in my 2 that I've written so far, with the woman finding out that she's going to be married because she doesn't have any say in the planning or anything. They just kind of usually her father says, "Hey, by the way, we've worked this out and you're getting married in 2 months or 3 months to a person you've never met."
Okay, I like this. I love this, and I want a twist where it's not her father who tells her. I want it to be him.
Okay.
Because because I think a lot of times I haven't read those stories, but, like, a lot of times with an arranged marriage, the heroine is still maybe either in her family home or connected to her parents, and that's why, sort of, like, under their control still.
Right.
So, she wouldn't even necessarily if that were the case, she wouldn't even be a florist, right? Because that would be a weird profession for, like, a mafia daughter. It's possible, but I wonder if she sort of broke with her family and has been living independently and is a florist and thinks that's all behind her. And then
And this is something up your alley. There's a family debt or something that needs to be paid, and he's going to pay it.
and one day she's sitting there arranging her flowers and the door opens and it's like beautiful pale greenery all around and in walks like completely clad in black with a dark vibe this guy who's like we're going to be married. And she's like absolutely not. Who are
Like,
you?
I know who are you? I don't even know who you are. Right?
Yes, I think so it could be that there is a debt and that there it was arranged. He's like, basically like, "I bought you." She's gonna hate that.
Right. I mean, that's a little on my side, that's a little Tony-ish. He paid off her debts and was like, "Okay, now you owe me."
So I think their first interaction I do want that scene to be, like, sort of, I mean, delicious and a tiny bit long. Like, I don't wanna rush it. I want them to really for her to argue with him, to stand up to him, like, "I left that life. You can't do this. This is the year whatever, 2024. This is we're past the Barbie movie, like, men cannot just do that, you know?" And he's gonna be like, "No, everything's the same as the ancient days, at least in the underworld, you may have thought you ran away from it with all of these pretty flowers." He's gonna mock the flowers. He's gonna, like, rip a petal off or something. She's gonna hate that. She's gonna stand up to him. He might back her up against, like, a profusion of flowers, a sort of shelf.
Mhm. I like it, I like it. But he doesn't kiss her, and if anything, he might touch her, just like her face,
Mm.
and just kind of like assessing what he now knows he's going to own.
I like that, like, he also, like, reaches up and sort of, like, touches a leaf and then, like, touches her face, and then, like, she's just a beautiful thing.
Yes. Like, he's like, "This could work out. This could work out okay." And she's like, "No, it's not working out. Don't touch me. Get away from me."
So then the question is, how does this scene end? He's obviously come in with this intention to tell her, what is he saying? Is he saying, maybe he's telling her, like, this is the time and the place. And she's like, I'm not going to be there. And he's like, yes, you will. And he leaves. And then what? She's going to,
Or he can tell her it's going to happen, and he could hand her the invitation to their wedding. And it's already printed, and there it is, time and place, and he will see her there.
oh, yeah, I love that. And also, I always wonder how this is possible but I like the idea of it. He's crowding her, he's sort of touching her, he's overwhelming her senses. She's flustered. And then he walks out and she looks down and he has slipped on like a heavy engagement ring.
Well, that would be, I mean, she'd have to be pretty flustered not to realize that sucker's on there,
I
but
know. I know. I'm like, well, maybe it could be a little big. Listen, mine comes on sometimes.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, he could take her hand, right, as they're talking, and she's, like, already told him not to touch her, but he like kind of backs up, gives her a little bit of space, but he reaches for her hand and he's talking to her, and she's so intent on looking at him because he's got this such intense stare and this aura about him that she's just looking at him. And when he lets go of her hand, yes, there's a ring.
Yes. I love that. I think it works, honestly. Like, I think I'm willing to suspend my disbelief in this moment. Though, if he wanted to go a little more practical, one thing he could do is slip it into her pocket and she only discovers it when he's gone. And then what she would do, like, here's the thing, she'd be like, of course, I don't want to put it on because I'm not agreeing to marry this guy. But also, how do you store a ring that's obviously worth a zillion dollars, right? So she
Right.
on a different finger. She'd be like, I can't leave it in my pocket. That just feels wrong. It feels like it's going to go in the wash or something.
Okay. Uh-huh.
So she's like not going to put it on the right finger, but then eventually he could put it on the right finger.
Yeah. Yeah.
Either
I
way,
like
she is
it.
left with the ring. She's left with the ring that she does not want and she's stuck with, and he's gone and she's got to hold on to it. But now what does she do? So I wonder if she have like a friend that she talks to, or maybe like a cousin that's still connected to the family, like for one connection she can reach out to.
Yes. Or, I mean, it could be, yeah, I like a female better. I was thinking if it could be a male friend, but no, I think I like a female better. A cousin would probably be good because if she is connected to the mafia or whatever group we're putting them in, she will need somebody, even though maybe she and her cousin aren't supposed to be still talking, but they've never, they've been best friends since they were little girls. So even though, what is her name?
Alicia.
Alicia. Okay. Even though this is the heroine, right? Okay. So even though Alicia has left the family and the family has kind of disowned her because she didn't want to have anything to do with them, she's still been in contact with her cousin because they've been close forever.
Yeah. I mean,
And
all the time contact because of like the dangers associated with, but they still love each other. They keep in touch.
right, yeah, you're right. Not all the time because somebody would figure that out, but they still have an ability to contact each other.
Right. So she
Hmm.
reaches out, and I kind of have this vision of her dad as being obviously, essentially, I have this vision of him being dead. But before that, I have this vision of him being obviously not a good guy overall and wanting
Right.
her to be a good daughter, fall in line, do whatever he said. But I almost wonder if there was a part of him that was good enough to let her go. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Because if she's like, I'm through with you, because you don't, depending on how exactly their family is structured, you usually can't like walk away necessarily. She knows a lot of secrets. Like this is not something the dad wants, and he's the boss. And so I wonder if like even though she had to stand up to him and it was really hard, if part of him like let her do it. But the thing is, if he's passed away, then it means that that thing that kept her safe all along is gone now.
Gone because he was the one that was her buffer, and
Right.
so now that he's gone.
He had the power to drag her back, but he didn't use it.
Hmm. I like that.
Whoever has taken control, maybe it even looks like an accident, but it's suspected murder or something like that. But the person who's now taken control is much worse. And he's like, I'm not going to let a pawn sit over there if I can use it.
Right. Yeah, I was thinking maybe, okay, so the father could have been killed, but maybe he was killed because he had some kind of a gambling debt or
Yeah,
a
maybe like they were already struggling. They were already struggling and something has gone wrong and they can't pay it back. And so it's kind of like it could also actually go back to like sort of his kind of goodness. Like he's like, I'm willing to be evil up to a point, and there's certain things I won't do. And those things could make us money, but I'm unwilling to do them. And the guy who takes over is like, it's because he's weak.
yeah. Well, I mean, the guy who takes over would either be like his consigliere or be like maybe a brother,
Yeah.
or which would be her uncle, who might she might not like, and he might not like her. He might resent the fact that she walked away.
Right. He could have been telling his brother all along, she's making a fool of you.
Yeah,
Like almost it would be like to him, to someone truly evil, it would be like, I will use her, but I'd rather her be dead than nothing. You know what I mean? Like she can't just
she can't
flaunt.
just be out there, on her own,
Yeah.
thinking that she got away from us.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So maybe he gets this guy, and I think this is not a random guy, like in the, you know what I mean? Like he's something special. He's some sort of linchpin.
Right. Well, he has power on his own, and then to connect him to the family will give the family more power. And he has money because he's able to pay off that debt.
Right. Right. Part of me was wondering if it was kind of like a thing of he's wanted her for a while and this was his opening. But the trick is she doesn't know who he is. We kind of set that up. So
Right, but if she was involved with the family up until, say, she was about 18, I mean, he could have seen her, like, in great big family gatherings or great big gatherings, and
and
he could have
she
been
was
aware of her.
right. And she was like maybe nose in a book or nose in a vase of flowers and not trying to actually mingle or
Right.
live in that world. So he could have seen her from afar. And
Mhm.
plus, yeah, a few years have passed. So maybe he's sort of like bulked out in that time and like
Right.
become hot.
Of course, very hot. Mhm,
Very hot.
mhm, because we don't write, anti-heroes who are 5'4" and 300 pounds.
Yeah, no, he's definitely tall and handsome
Tall and handsome, dark.
and muscular. And so
Mhm,
is he's been wanting her for a while. I always enjoy that, like a longing situation,
mhm.
watching for his opening, maybe even thinking it would never happen. But then when he sees the opening, taking it.
Yeah, I was thinking if we could go back again to the beginning, I would, which I don't know if that's possible. I don't know your rules, but if we could go back to the beginning, maybe the first encounter with him, he just comes into the shop and she's just kind of blown
Yeah.
away with how handsome he is and how intense he is. But he talks to her about, flowers or something. So when he comes back in the next time, she's like, were the flowers okay? And he's like, well, I wasn't really here for flowers. I was here for you. And we didn't.
Yes, absolutely. I want him to absolutely do that. I want him to come in and still look completely out of place and her to be intimidated, but like put on her shock face, you know. I want him to ask about the flowers just to get her talking. He doesn't care about
Mhm.
sleep, but she cares about the flowers and he cares about what she cares about. And then I want her to assume that someone this handsome and this hot and this like obviously rich is like coming and asking for flowers, that he's obviously sort of asking for some sort of wife or girlfriend situation.
Right.
I feel like would naturally have these questions that she would ask, like, well, does she have a favorite flower or something like that, you know? And she can almost blush because it can feel like because she's feeling the attraction to him. And so it can almost feel like she's, that thing you do where you're like, oh, are you with someone? Even though she's trying to stay professional.
He could say, I don't know if she has a favorite flower. Do you? What flowers do you like? She might like the same kind.
Oh,
But
yeah.
what he never should say is she. He should just say what kind of flower, I don't know what her favorite flower is. What's your favorite flower?
I
Because
love that. I was actually gonna have him say he was, like, sending it to his mother's grave or something because that would be kinda sweet, but I actually love yours better because he can just yeah, he's just turning it on her, like, "What are your favorite flowers?" Absolutely. And
Okay, then if we wanna get really creepy, when she goes home that night, the flowers are in
the
her
flowers are,
house.
yeah, of course they are.
They're in her house. They're not outside. They're not out waiting on the doorstop. They're actually in her house.
Yes, just like on the dining room table. Because I also like the idea that he was sort of watching her from afar because that's how longing works. You know, you would just go check on her. I feel like his reasoning for not doing anything all this time was because he actually recognizes that it's good that she got out. She
Yeah,
clearly wants out. She got out, and that's the best thing for her. So he's not going to mess with that. And but only then when this new guy takes over, and it's clear that he's going to sell her to someone,
right,
and or she'll have to get drawn into the life somehow. That he kind of steps in and he's like, "No, I'm going to be the one."
right. So, I mean, she doesn't know it, but he's saving her
Yeah.
from a worser fate.
Yes.
Mhm.
And it has to be marriage in that way too, because if it's temporary, if it's anything temporary, then
That's not really gonna keep her safe.
right, it has to be the full thing. So, okay. Okay, so then he comes back, does the marriage thing. She's gonna be freaked out as soon as he walks in the second time because she's like, "How did you get into my house?" And he's like, "Regardless of that, we're getting married." And whoa.
Let's move
Uh,
past that.
yeah. So now they're in the place where she's thoroughly freaked out. She calls her cousins, like, what's going on? The cousin updates her. Maybe she didn't even know her dad died. Maybe she's like, "Oh my god, this is,"
Mhm.
because the cousin is just like everything is in, you know,
Chaos.
chaos
Mhm.
right now. It's like it's not safe for anyone. People are getting axed left and right. Like that's sort of why she didn't call her and let her know. And so the heroine can feel bad for her dad actually, because I think you would like even if he wasn't a good guy, like maybe he even sort of like backhanded her from time to time, but it's still like it's still your father. He still let you go. And it's still like, so I wonder if she would, you know what she would do? She would take flowers to his grave. Apparently, I really needed a grave to be in this situation.
I like that, and she's gonna take flowers to his grave, and, of course, he's gonna be
Yeah.
watching. He
Yeah.
might not come out, but he's gonna be watching her because she's really pretty much in danger at this point. So he's gonna either be watching her or having his men watch her.
Yeah. I think it's going to be the kind of thing where you get to see her like go up and have like that sort of complex relationship conversation with her dad of like, you weren't good father, but I love you. And I think maybe in your own way you loved me. And obviously she picked the flowers specially for him, like they're not random flowers. And she
Mhm.
leaves them there. And then as she turns, he's just like in the distance, like leaning against a tree. And, she's has conflicting feelings. And so she confronts him and again is again like, listen, my father let me go, and regardless, if anyone was going to arrange a marriage for me, it would have been him. And my whoever is taken over now, my uncle, has no right to do this. You have no right to do this. It's not happening. I think at that point, he might. I don't know if I want him to sort of like angry kiss her or just like see that she's so shaken by the grave thing that he actually just like hugs her, even though it's weird for him. But like he part of him recognizes that's what she needs.
Right. Because she's all by herself. She's all alone, and she just found out her dad died.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like she would actively just, like, be trembling, you know what I mean?
Mhm. And be upset and be telling him no, but probably crying at the same time.
And maybe there
And
could be some, like, merging, like, as she is telling him, "You don't control my life. You aren't allowed to be here. I have left you." Like, part of what she's saying like, she's almost having that moment facing her dad, but facing him. Like, he represents what her dad represented, like a moment
right.
piano
I
had.
like that. Yeah, I like that a lot. Mhm. I think it's not an angry kiss. I think it's more like either a hug or a more gentle kiss that just throws her totally off kilter because that's not what she was expecting nor what she wanted. But like it's this big tough person, big tough guy that, gives off this dangerous aura, and yet at that moment he's gentle.
Yeah. I agree. I agree to start gentle. I do think it should start to like the passion should escalate on both sides. I think with him, it's just natural. Again, he's always wanted her. With her, I think her defenses would normally be higher, but because of this, everything that's happened, her defenses are down.
And I think that by doing that, by acting inconsistent with who she believes he is, that puts her defenses down. It also makes her more vulnerable to be open to maybe this guy's okay and I might like him a little bit, or at least I'm attracted to him and I can admit that. Versus, I feel like if he came at her super strong in that situation, it would just push him farther away.
Right. Okay, so they have this moment of passion, mutual passion. She probably tears herself away and says, "I lost my head. It didn't mean anything." And he's got to probably like call her Cara, just like, my heart. And I think I love when there's a nickname like that, when the heroine assumes it's kind of mocking and
Hmm.
or just like so hollow, but like only later. And the reader knows that actually he means it because he has
Yeah.
been longing for her this whole time.
Hmm. I like
So
that.
yeah. Okay, so then maybe he escorts her home, and then what? Are we getting to the wedding, or we have something else happen before then?
I think maybe instead of escorting her home because her uncle is so dangerous, he wants to take her someplace where she'll be safe until the wedding
Mm,
and kind of get her off the radar.
I like it combined. I wanna do what if he takes her home, he thinks she's safe because she's under watch, he's watching, his people are watching.
Hmm.
If she's like, "Okay, listen, I'm obviously in over my head. How could I have given in and kissed this guy?" And regardless, he doesn't seem to be giving up. And so she packs her bag, sneaks out, and hits the road somehow. And
Okay.
he obviously realizes, catches up to her. I don't even know if we want to go so far as to have her sort of be in danger by her uncle's people or not. And he just catches up to her and is like, "You cannot go off. Like, it's not safe for you." And she's like, "That's very convenient for you to say because you're trying to force me to marry you." And he's like,
Hmm.
"Regardless, cannot be trusted. So I'm going to put you in this safe house." And she's like, "You mean prison?"
Right.
And,
Hmm. Get a little bit of forced proximity there.
oh, yes, 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 yes.
I like a little forced proximity. But I also think it would be almost good to have the forced proximity for just a little bit, and then he disappears for a little so that she's kind of, I mean, she's being taken care of. She's fine. But now she's like, I'm by myself and I, kind of like him and but I don't like him. I hate him. And but at least he's somebody. And now I'm all by myself. And so when she gets word that the wedding is happening this afternoon, and when she walks down that aisle and sees him, there's like a feeling of there, yeah, okay, he's there. And that makes me feel safer again, or something to that effect.
Yeah, I think the thing is I still feel like she's maybe at the point where she would say no at the aisle. Like what is gonna compel her to say I do at that point?
Okay.
Do you think she would say it just based on maybe she'd be more likely to say it if she actually did get in trouble when she
When
was
she ran away.
yeah. And
Yeah.
he could convince her like this is actually going to keep you safe. And she may realize, okay, maybe it will.
Hmm.
Tell herself something like it doesn't have to be a real marriage, like it doesn't have to mean anything.
It doesn't have to last forever. It
Yes.
can just get through this rough spot. You
Okay.
take care of the bad guys, and then I can go back on my own.
Okay, I like that.
Maybe she even tries to make him a deal like that.
Yeah. Yeah, she could definitely be thinking it. She could also tell him that, but I don't know if he would agree.
He doesn't have to agree. She just has to think he agreed.
Hmm. I mean, there's also the kind of thing that you can do where you're kind of like, sometimes the hero will be like, "I won't touch you unless you ask me to," and then, like, they're gonna arrange it, so she asks him to, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's it's in my second book. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just because you assume, I don't know. I mean, I've read mafia books that go both directions where basically they force themselves on them at the wedding night, and then other ones where they don't. But I kind of fall for the ones that don't. Like it's like she gets to have some say so in what's going on. Even if she had no say so in the wedding, she had no say so in a lot of this stuff, but she gets to
Yeah.
have some say
Or
so.
what if he sort of makes it what if the deal is I'll go this far, but not that far?
Okay. I like it.
So that way she kind of thinks to herself, "Okay, fair enough, and I don't have to even enjoy it, whatever we do."
Right. But of course she's going to.
Of course she does. And and then sort of like ironically, she's just wishing that they didn't have the agreement. You know what I mean? Like wishing that they could go all the way, but he,
Mhm.
is like, I'm not going to because that's our deal.
Right.
I
And
also
he's waited for her this long. I mean, he's been in love with her for a long time. So making her squirm a little bit that direction would be enjoyable for him.
yes, and like you said, like I mean, he's a patient guy. He can be patient.
He can be. He can be ruthless too.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. So he's going to do the thing where he's like, "Okay, the deal is I'm not gonna have sex with you, but I'm gonna kiss you." And she's like, "I don't, I'd rather it was nothing, but fine, I'll make the deal." And then, after the wedding, when she's still in the wedding dress, he's like, I didn't say where I was gonna kiss you. And then like
I like that. I like that a lot.
I very much need them to still be completely in wedding gear,
Okay.
for this situation.
I like it.
I mean, presumably we're talking very small affair wedding, like maybe
Right.
his closest people are there almost more as witnesses than as like a celebration, but they could also still follow the, I'm like picturing, I don't know what you're picturing. I'm picturing like, and I know like you have done this, but like, like an estate out that, because he's obviously wealthy
Mhm.
and, and how some estates even have like private chapels kind of thing.
Okay. Mhm. I think a private chapel, because if she was, I mean, I like garden weddings, but if she's in danger, I don't think he'd want her outside where, even with his men around, he would want to make sure that there wasn't somebody trying to, because maybe he offered to do this, but the uncle has somebody else he wants her to,
Right.
and
Right.
so he's got to get her to marry, this guy who doesn't have a name, has to get Alicia to marry him before her uncle gets to her and has her marry somebody else.
Agree. Or it could even be that guy, like, what if it's not the uncle, but it is just a sort of business partner or second in command who wants to marry her to solidify his position? Like, he's taken over, but, not everyone's happy about it. He's taken over, but if he were to marry the old boss's daughter, he would,
Right.
like, solid, right?
Oh,
Like
yeah. Okay. So maybe the old boss and our anti-hero have been business partners in the past, and our anti-hero knows what a dirtbag he is.
yeah,
Or they don't have to be partners, but they've done business together before. I mean, they've been involved in deals or
he could
whatever.
be family. Like, the hero could be family with the dirtbag new boss.
Okay. Yeah. Because that's going to make a lot of tension, because and so he tells, when it's the men's POV, he tells him that he's going to marry the daughter, and that's going to solidify everything for him. And he's going to have everything now. Our anti-hero is like, oh, hell no, you're not. But he doesn't tell him that. He just is like, no, I'm going to make a move. And he makes his move.
And so I want like the wedding to also I want it to have flowers. And I want her to be like, I recognize something about these flowers for her to realize this was made by my like bestie slash florist who works with me at the shop. And, and so like so even though this feels like a very rush and almost fake wedding, like that he actually put thought into it.
Yeah. I think I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So then he like pushes up the puffy skirts of her wedding dress and kisses her where she did not say he couldn't, then leaves her that way, like sated, but where she's still feeling like, oh, I kind of wish we were having sex, but also feeling conflicted about that, right? Like I shouldn't,
Right.
whatever, right? But then I want it to be a little Beauty and the Beast. Like I want it to be like, don't go into the West Wing. And so where is she gonna go looking at night when he's asleep? She's gonna go to the West Wing or wherever.
So he's gonna put her in a different bedroom.
I think he might put her in a different bedroom. Well, I think he definitely would before the wedding because I like him being a little old-fashioned that way. After the wedding, in a way, it makes sense that they still would be separate because it's like not fully married, right? They have this kissing agreement.
Right.
Even if he is there, he could just be asleep, right? And so I think just like a study makes sense. At one point early, she could be like I'm a prisoner here. He's like, the grounds are huge. You can go anywhere you want, except my study. And so obviously that's where she wants to go. And so she waits till he's asleep. And maybe it sort of disarms her that he was so kind,
Mhm.
after like, she had this impression of him that he would not follow the deal or that he would. And she's like, he seems almost honorable. I'm a little confused about how to feel about him. What if I go check the study?
And when she does,
What if she finds what she thinks to be proof that he, like, was the one who did the hit on the father?
oh, so he's not in there asleep. So she's just in there like she's snooping around.
He's asleep. So he's either in his own bedroom asleep, or he could even be in their shared bed asleep, and she's snooping.
Okay.
She goes down to the study and sees something that's presumably bad. Or, it could even be that actually in addition, because extra bad, but no, I think not that. You know what I want her to find?
What? I love your ooh ah.
I want her to find like a stalker shrine, you know?
Oh, yeah, because he has been watching her.
Yeah.
So, like a scrapbooky or a box full of pictures of her.
Right, right. Like she goes up to his desk. It's like clearly a desk that's in use. There's some papers on it. She looks through it. It's just like businessy stuff. She looks through some of the drawers. It's like files. There's one drawer that's locked. And so obviously that seems like the special drawer. She like jimmies it open. And what is inside? Just some like doodads from like her life. Like maybe she had an official coming out and there's like an invitation from that and like a Polaroid of her with her, friends or something that, gets printed out in a strip and just things he has been able to collect through the years.
Mhm. I like it a lot. And is he gonna catch her snooping?
I think he has to. I
I
think
think so too. And
it's
I think he's gonna be mad,
yeah,
which is good because that's a really strong emotion.
yeah,
And, then she's gonna be mad too because she's like, "Well, why do you have all this stuff? This doesn't make any sense. Why do you have it?"
yeah.
And their anger turns to some passion.
I think it does, I think
Mhm.
because I think she's obviously gonna be freaked out. She's obviously gonna be a little angry and freaked out as well, but I think there's some part of her that has to recognize this as a form of power because she's been feeling very powerless.
Mhm. Right.
And
And if he is strongly attracted to her, that does give her power.
mhm. And I think she'll confront him even with the question. I was like, okay, first just accuse him, like, why are you doing that? That's creepy. Okay, so one of those is dated back from, maybe I was like 17 or 18 and now I'm, like 24. I mean, for a man bent on, he could even to sort of disguise his feelings, he could be like, yeah, that's why I bought you. And, she could be like, well, it took you a lot of years actually and realize that it is more of a longing situation than it is like an ownership situation. And that could really like unleash all the emotions and then unleash all the passion.
Yes, I like that. And I mean, and also that protective alpha part that he's been watching her all this time. And even while her father was alive, recognized that she wasn't totally safe. And he's been keeping an eye on her.
I almost think it could be that night or it could be a series of nights, almost like this sort of like honeymoon phase where it's revealed over these moments as they have what could be really hot and even kinky sex that he, she could say, why did you wait so long? And he could say, he wanted to get out and I was glad that you did, you know?
Right. No, I like that. Uh-huh. I think that's yes. And but I do think it's better maybe not to have it all explosive in one night. Like you said, have it go over like multiple nights and days, because then like in the days when he's gone doing stuff and she's kind of alone, it gives her time to think about what she's found and what does it mean?
Yeah, I agree. And I think if this is a family home, she could snoop a little bit more, not so much like in his study, but just like uncover some things from sort of like his family and that makes her understand him better. So
Right.
so we have that happening. But then we can also have the increasing dread if during the days what if part of what he's doing is sort of preparing an attack against his own uncle, like the current bad boss, like if part of what he's doing is defending or attacking. So it can increase the dread that maybe they're not fully safe, you know?
Right, but it also, like you said, could she might find things that makes her wonder if he's being truthful or if he's really working with the uncle. And I mean, there could just be the different kind of clues that we know as the readers, because we know he loves her and he's trying to protect her. But maybe she finds things that are like, but wait a minute, are they doing this together? What's happening? Why are they doing this together?
Right,
And
like, you could overhear maybe even as he plots against him, he is also still staying in contact because he doesn't want the guy to know yet that he's, like, completely against him, and
right,
you might even overhear, like, a conversation where it sounds like they're in league together, and she's like, "But wait," maybe she even gets a call into the cousin, and the cousin is like, "Everyone's thinking murder." They weren't sure before, but now it seems really clear, and she's like, "Okay, so if this guy is in league with his uncle, did he also kill my father?" And how do I
yeah.
even feel about that too? I mean, again, it's like a love-hate situation with her father, but it does mean that she wouldn't trust him if he killed.
Well, or I mean, she wants to trust him, but she is unsure if she can.
Right.
And so she keeps kind of, every time she thinks she's going to give in to her feelings, she ends up, backing off a little bit because she's just too unsure.
Yeah.
But then something's going to have to happen that's going to make it all real clear where he's against the uncle and it's for her.
I think I think there's gonna be sort of a seeming emergency. He's gonna get called away from the estate. Rush, 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 danger. He's got the people to protect her. So he's thinking she's pretty safe, even though he doesn't like to leave her. And so he leaves, but the person he put in charge is actually on the turn. And he has portrayed them and he allows the uncle to come in and the uncle meets with her. But instead of appearing outwardly like the worst villain ever, at first I want him to just sort of be like, you have it all wrong here. It's exactly the opposite of what he said.
Yeah. Hmm.
I was trying to say you should get to stay and be a florist, and he came in and helped kill your father just so he could have you. And paints this picture that is like scary enough that it's not that she, because by now she has really strong feelings for him. So she's just very confused. And it's not like she believes the uncle completely. She knows he's kind of a scumbag, but it also sounds kind of plausible too, right? If he's been
Right.
wanting her and the dad's been blocking him, it
And he's been watching her for all this time.
right.
So
It starts
yeah.
to like there are some things adding up and it makes her afraid enough that
She leaves with the uncle?
I don't know if she would leave or just sort of like try to run away but in some way she would make a move to protect herself that ultimately would put her in danger. But we would understand it because she's obviously being used, and
By somebody, and she doesn't quite know who.
right, she doesn't know who to trust.
Could she call her cousin?
Yeah, that makes sense. I almost was saying, what if her cousin betrayed her? But I feel like that's too mean. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, but her cousin doesn't have to betray her knowingly.
Ooh, yeah, 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 yeah. Because the
So
cousin is part of the world, right? The cousin is in league with the uncle, even, not again,
and
not to
so
her.
the uncle is having her phone tapped and she
Yeah,
doesn't know.
yeah.
And so the cousin agrees to come and get her because the cousin doesn't think she's safe with our anti-hero.
Yeah,
And so the cousin comes to get her, or they arrange a rendezvous point or something.
right.
But then the cousin isn't there.
Yeah, or the uncle got there first and the cousin is like, "I'm so sorry, I didn't know," but they're both,
Yeah.
sort of being held at gunpoint, they don't have a choice anymore. And I think the hero has to rush in, and and there's gonna be a standoff, and there's gonna be a villain monologue, and then I really think like, it could be that I think it could become some kind of situation where the uncle who was the second in command kept waiting for the dad to die and kept thinking that he would get to be that have that power and our hero went a different route and just made a lot of money. And so the uncle is sort of like ashamed that his sort of nephew has outperformed him. And they kind of this bitterness sort of plays out. And then even if it was in a slightly different way that they succeeded. And so there's a shootout and he has to, I think, take a bullet for her or in some way endanger himself in order to save her because it's the only way that we can see that like it's love and not possession.
Hmm. I like it. Hmm. I was also going to say during that villain monologue, does he admit to being the one who killed the dad? And who hears it? Only our anti-hero, or does she
Oh,
hear
that's a
it too?
good point. I think this is the final standoff. The uncle's probably about to die, so he's gotta spill the beans, so that way she can be really sure of him going forward. But I think when they're explaining their bitterness, I think the uncle could let it spill. And plus, at that point, I think the uncle believes he has all the cards. Like, he has caught the girls, maybe he has more men, and the hero has shown up, like, just himself, and he can say, "Yeah, I did all that," "Yeah." It could also be
And
that
you
he's
know
sort of.
what? Thanks for marrying her, because now when I claim her, she's going to have all your money too.
Yeah, yeah. So I think, yeah, he throws himself at the bad guy because he's like, "I'm gonna stop him, even if it means I die, that's fine, as long as
Hmm.
she's safe." And she's gonna be horrified. But I also think, oh, instead of rushing after them, it could have been a thing where he said, "Meet me," and then the hero but meet me alone, and the hero comes presumably alone, but then he has friends, and they all sort of swarm in and sort of take over, but the hero's already shot. So,
And
um,
so, but his friends or his guys, his men, come in and take care of the scene, but he's still shot. He's still injured,
uh,
and we don't know if he lives or dies.
are we cliffhangering this?
Yep, I'll see you again in about 3 months. Okay.
Oh my god, that's so funny. I really want, like, if we had, like, subtitles, I want that to be, like, evil author laugh that we just did. Are we gonna cliffhanger this and then,
Yep.
like, evil
Yep.
author?
Let's flip over here. No, but I think it's important for the reader to not know if he lives or dies, and also for our heroine not to know if he lives or dies, and then to have that little bit of suspense before we find out that he makes it.
Yeah, I also think, yeah, I think it also would be nice if she fully, maybe in the process of, getting him up to the room and dealing with his wounds, if she sort of, like, takes charge a little bit, like, "I am the lady of this manor," kind of thing.
Hmm.
He'd been sort of a prisoner, and then even when she wasn't, maybe sort of, like, rejecting of this status, and she's like, "No, take him to our room, like, the room that I haven't been sleeping in, but now it's our room."
Right. Yeah. No, I like that too. And they might, I mean, something to the effect of, whoever his main guy is would be like, well, he's going to want. She's like, I'm his wife. I'm Mrs. So and so. I'm the one who says what we're doing, and this is what we're doing. And if he's not able to tell you what to do, so I'm speaking for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the guy appreciates it because he knows that our anti-hero really does love her, and he sees that as a positive in their relationship too.
Yeah, and I also think stepping into her power a little bit because, like, she rejected that lifestyle, like the mafia lifestyle, but maybe it's still in her a little bit, you know what I mean? Maybe the life of a quiet shopkeeper, even though she loves flowers and loves arranging them, maybe that wasn't as fulfilling.
As she thought it would be.
Yeah, but she almost feels like it's her only choice if she doesn't want a life of, like, violence and danger or whatever.
So now, just back to beginning, she's this quiet shopkeeper. Is she like in like a witness protection thing, or is she going by her own name?
I think she was going by her own name because I think the dad let her go.
Okay, yeah.
And now I almost think what's gonna happen is exactly what the uncle wanted. Well, the uncle wanted to marry her to solidify his place at the head of this organization, and I think the hero is now gonna be the head of the organization. Like,
Because he's married to her.
right, and because he's powerful and wealthy and essentially
Mhm.
because he says so, and also, like, he would in a way sort of be the uncle's heir, so he really is perfectly primed to take this position. I think it's a good example of an anti-hero, which is kind of like a question that we posed at the beginning, because a regular hero, I think in a way he could have been a regular hero up until this point. In a way, some people would still call him an anti-hero. But I think that almost the difference to me between if he were a regular hero, he'd be like, "All right, babe, love you. You can own your flower shop forever, and I'm gonna be a billionaire, and we never have to touch this world again." That would be like the actions of a regular hero, which is that even if we have darkness in our past, like we have now abandoned that. Versus I think an anti-hero is going to say, I'm now the leader of this organization. You are my queen, essentially. And you can do whatever you want with flowers. I literally don't care. You know, but this is the situation. And I think we can find some like honor and respect in that he is going to not do the evil things that even her dad wouldn't do. And maybe he'll even be even better than that. So like he will be a responsible steward of the cartel, you might say.
Yeah, I think though to be in that position, you still have to be willing to go on the dark side for the business side of it.
Yes, exactly, exactly. He definitely
Um,
has it. Like it's like a
and
double
he learns how, he knows how to separate them too. His life with her and their life as a whole. But she also isn't afraid of that life anymore. She's now been, like you said, she's decided, okay, I'm here. I'm going to be part of it, and I will be the queen.
Yeah, I think part of that line is sort of like this gratuitous violence versus this, listen, I make fair deals, and as long as you hold up your end of the bargain, no one gets hurt. I'm not trying to hurt anyone. You know what I mean? That's not
Mhm.
this is my I'm just trying to do business. But also you will not cheat me and live. So,
Right.
yeah,
I think that's part of the appeal of anti-heroes
yeah.
is that they have this edge to them. And what makes them even better, in my opinion, is when they have this edge, but yet they can drop that edge in a way when they're with their special someone. They still are, obviously they're attractive and sexy and all that part, but she's not afraid of him like
Oh,
the men would be afraid of him. I mean, like she knows he would go, he'd take a bullet for her.
mhm.
He'd do anything. So, I mean, that's what makes the anti-hero so, I guess, appealing.
Yeah. Okay, so the question is, he's taken over, she's potentially doing whatever she wants with flowers. She maybe has a flower shop, but like it's her friend florist who did her wedding flowers that runs it. But what should the epilogue be?
I guess it depends on how much of the side story we have with other people too, because I mean, like, what was her relationship with her mom? Like, did her mom know this was all going to happen? Is her mom still alive? So part of the epilogue could be that they re-engage with her family in a good way, so that she's not, I don't want to say ostracized, but she's not outside looking in anymore. She's actually at the top, and they, as the couple, welcome her family in, and her family welcomes them in. So that could be part of the epilogue. They're all happy.
Love that. I really do because yeah, I think it's a hard thing to cut off your family at all, but specifically in this sort of scenario where it could have felt like she was missing a limb this whole time?
Right, because she grew up with this close family, but then she left it, and her dad let her, and those past feelings are gone, or are buried or whatever, but still she still loves her family. So the epilogue could be the coming together of the family. I don't necessarily think it needs to be a baby.
Yeah.
I mean, I do a lot of babies, so I know I'm not against babies. It just seems like sometimes, I mean, honestly, you've got this power couple. Let them be a power couple for a while.
Right. She can't quite be this sort of like authority queen with babies. I mean, I guess arguably you can, but you're very distracted by babies. So yeah,
Right.
you let them sort of rule for a little while.
And I mean, they could even have that discussion. Yes, we one day would love to have children, but right now let's concentrate on us and the company, the empire.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe set up the cousin a little.
Yeah. Because there might be somebody that maybe one of the guys that works for our guy, or
Mhm.
somebody, the
Yeah.
somebody. Yeah.
He's like, yeah, yeah. I enjoy that. And so the very, very last question, well, actually second to last is what would the title be?
Oh goodness gracious. What would the title be?
I did think of a title. It was easier because I stole it from actually a book that's like one of my favorite dark romances, but I think it would be fine because that is a historical and
Okay.
it's to have and to hold.
Okay. I like that.
She actually has a whole series like that. It's like to love and to cherish, but to have and to hold, I think to love and to cherish is not a dark romance, which is so funny. And to have and to hold is a very dark romance.
I like to have it to have and told because like my new series, I mean, I was looking for I had one that was something I can't remember what it was anymore, but I ended up not using it. But by the time every time I said it out loud, I felt like I was doing the Days of Our Lives entry with, like sands through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives. So I'm like, this is not working for me.
If you end up writing like 15 arranged marriages, you're going to have to use to have and told, really. It's just
I honestly, I think I may. So if I do, I just want to let you know that thank you very much for the idea, but I do like it. To have and to hold. I like it.
to have and to hold. And then, so if readers enjoyed to have and to hold, what book of yours should they read first?
My new one coming out May 13th. It'll probably be passed by the time you hear this.
Yeah.
It is Now and Forever. It
Now,
is a standalone.
that's perfect timing. And like you said, I think I talked over you, but it's a standalone. So no cliffhanger. Don't worry. Our evil laugh only lasted for like a hot 30 seconds. And you get your HEA with Now and Forever by Aleatha Romig. And we will put the links in the show notes. So you can just, if you're listening, just click down and you'll be able to find that book easily and give it a read. So I hope you guys enjoy that. And thank you so much, Aleatha. This was really fun.
It was fun, Skye. Thank you. Good to see you.
You too.
Thank you so much for listening to Storytime with Skye. I hope you enjoyed the story we crafted this week. Please subscribe so you don't miss a new episode, and leave a review so that other listeners can find our show. We always put links for any books we discuss, as well as books by the guest author, in the show notes, so you can definitely find something new to read. And if you want to help choose our romance adventure, be sure to join our Facebook group, Storytime with Skye. That's where we gather suggestions and poll our readers, just like you, to find out what our next story will be. Thank you for being part of the story.
Welcome to the story.